I imagine you landed on this video because something happened. Your mate just got a graduate job, your semester has just ended, and someone asked you, what's the plan after you finish high school? And you feel this deep sense of overarching shame. Not the shame of having done something terrible, but the background noise of, I should know more about what I want to do with my life than I do now. If that's you, I'd stay, because I don't think being lost is something you necessarily need to fix right now. It's easy to forget with everyone around us and what we see on social media that it's not normal to have your life figured out when you turn 20. Now, those around us love to put up appearances and facades that don't really match their internal state, which is fundamentally an unfair comparison, isn't it? That advice, no matter how objectively true, is always really hard to internalize though, isn't it? It's a bit glib and doesn't really pose a solution to the feeling that you're feeling. What do we do instead? I propose this. We have to learn to sit with the uncertainty. And not because it makes you feel better in the moment, but because it's actually a super useful skill to learn, and a skill that someone with no life plan actually has plenty of exposure to developing. As humans, we're designed to run towards certainty. Because most of the time, certainty is safe. It's a survival thing. But when stretched to the time horizon of 20, 30 years, this assumption falls apart. Because there's just too many factors. We grow, we change perspectives. New technology like AI appears and just ruins everything. So when you're choosing certainty in the context of a life plan, you're essentially betting on the happiness of a future version of yourself, a very specific future version of yourself that chances are will never materialize. But learning to sit with uncertainty instead of rushing into the thinking you need to have a life plan right now makes us less prone to what others think, which makes it more likely we'll take risks and try to discover things and ultimately reap the rewards. Starting this YouTube channel, despite the fact that I don't get many views or subscribers or whatever, has still fundamentally changed how I see the world, how my self-esteem, and I guess my ability to explain things as well. But if I hadn't been able to sit with the uncertainty of what are others going to think about me when I start this channel, I would never have done it. I would have procrastinated for years. None of us want to be a 40-year-old who spent 20 to 30 years on a preordained life path, only to figure out that we've grown to hate it because we were too afraid to be lost at 21 years old. However, you will be the one with the maneuverability to try things, fail things, and ultimately find your gold mine, which is that beautiful intersection between what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs. But in terms of dealing with that shame in the here and now, there's actually something very concrete you can do. And that is accepting it out loud or in writing actually loosens its power over you a surprising amount. Admitting to yourself verbally or writing down that I don't know what to do with my life, in plain English, reduces its power phenomenally compared to when it's just an unrefined thought in your head and your amygdala, which is basically the fear center of your brain, where it can play with it and mold it into whatever it wants really. This technique is called labeling and actually deactivates the amygdala and the general feelings of shame that come along with it. All of that is undoubtedly useful to understand, but it doesn't really accept the crucial point that we all forget to accept. And it's a blessing that took me a while to realize the power of as well. In 10 years, I'll be 28. I'll still be young. I'll have time left. At this point in our lives, the opportunity cost of going deep on something is so low, and the price of failure is basically zero. So we have to learn to use that more. Instead of locking ourselves into this life plan at such an early stage and refusing to go anywhere else but that. That being said, waiting for your calling to come to you in this sort of serendipitous epiphany kind of way is the surest way you can guarantee that nothing will ever come of accepting certainty. Instead, we're going to view our lives as a block of ice. We're going to pick up our chisel and start slowly carving away the useless bits until we reveal a life that we ultimately want to lead. And that starts with experimentation. If you take anything away from this video, I want you to take this sentence. Have the courage to be bad at something. As a child, we are naturally exploration-minded. We try lots of things. If we think something looks cool, we don't care how people look if we're fucking terrible at it. But at school, when the metrics of success are binary, as in you pass or you fail, you get it right or you get it wrong, it rewards the one right answer, and it naturally makes us more risk averse. Whereas in everyday life, it's more about failing until you find the right answer for your specific case. And this is where we get into the idea of iteration and repetition. And this comes from this guy named Naval Ravikant, who is basically this tech angel investor, super successful guy who basically founded philosophy Twitter. And an interesting theory he poses when it comes to finding your specific knowledge, or where that intersection between what you love, what you do, what the world needs lies for you, is trying one thing, quitting if it's lame, and then slightly changing the thing, and then doing it all over again, until you eventually carve that ice block into something you want to repeat and copy over and over and over. An example of that is actually this YouTube channel, which is, I don't know if I haven't meant for it to turn out that way, but it's kind of been a verbal diary of the things that I've been experimenting on. Example, productivity, brain hacks, discipline, philosophy, AI prompting, and workflow automations. I've also done a bit of app development, as in coding and design, and eventually I've landed on a few things I can start to fill my days with and gradually start to carve my ice block that way. As you might have been able to tell from that list, they're all actually kind of in the same field. So I've slowly iterated the thing that I'm looking into, experimenting with, and when I don't like the thing, I quit. I move on to a next thing that is slightly adjacent, the things that I've discovered that I already like. And here is where I come to the point about energy audits, which is basically a practical system that helps you identify what gives you energy versus what takes away your energy and makes you feel worse after doing it. So here's how it works. For 3 days, write a plus or a minus next to every task you do, depending on how good you felt after that task. The minuses are the things we want to lean away from, while the pluses are the things that we want to do more of in our days. This is pretty much the best way to start carving your ice block, because you're naturally filtering all the things you do in a given day and disregarding, slowly taking out the things that you don't want to do and filling your days more with the things that you actually find valuable, what brings you energy, and ultimately that's what makes your life fun. To make this a bit more action-oriented and simple, I might add, ask yourself, what is the next right thing? When we're asking these big, audacious questions about what do I want to do, we're often looking on the level of our life and the scale of years and even decades. And like I said earlier, there are so many confounding factors because life is inherently uncertain that any prediction you make on who you will be in the future will almost certainly be wrong in one way or another. Asking yourself what is the next right thing brings us back into the present, something that we can quite easily control. The answer to what is the next right thing could be something as simple as working on that YouTube video outline, or that uni project, or even asking AI what things I could experiment with. If you string a bunch of these moments along together, you might soon find out that things start to naturally sort themselves out, because the hardest part is often starting. Eventually, a day becomes a week, then a month, and then a year. And so as you walk the way starts to appear. But I will say this, carving your ice block is a daily habit, not a one-time event. And if you're worried about losing momentum after this video ends, I made a deep dive into the specific discipline system I use to make sure I show up and do the next right thing every single day.